Proposed NBA plan would complete finals by October 12. Last week, we heard that the NBA was tentatively circling July 31 on its calendar as a target date for the resumption of the 2019 20th season. Today, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski provides another important detail on the NBA's proposed timeline, tweeting that the league is eyeing October 12 as the last possible date for Game 7 of the 2020 finals. Wojnarowski notes in a follow-up tweet that the league is still working through details on its return-to-play plan with the NBPA. As such, it's not clear whether that October 12 date is part of the tentative proposal for now, or if it's just the latest possible Game 7 date that has been discussed, out of a handful of possibilities. The NBA intends to bring a proposal to its Board of Governors on Thursday for a vote, so the details of the plan will likely need to be finalized soon. During the first month or two following the suspension of the season, reports suggested that the NBA preferred not to have the 2019 20th season run beyond Labor Day. The new timeline reflects the league's changing stance on that issue. The NBA has seemingly become more willing to start the 2020-20 first season much later than usual in the hopes that by the time opening night arrives, fans will be allowed back in arenas. Given how much revenue is generated from ticket sales and in-arena purchases, the league likely won't be in any rush to begin next season until states have lifted bans on large gatherings, at least to some extent. If the season runs into early October, 2020's draft and free agency period likely wouldn't take place until mid to late October at the earliest. It also seems unlikely that the 2020 Firsts campaign will tip off before Christmas. Report: NBA teams looking for alternatives to replace home court advantage. It will be a different setting once the NBA resumes the season, not only in terms of location. All teams will be stationed at the ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex and Disney World Resort and will not have a home court advantage when the playoffs come, which is one of the big reasons for teams to aim for higher seeds. According to Dave McMenamin of ESPN, the teams are considering various ideas how to replace the home court advantage with other advantages over the lower-seeded teams. At this point there have been no formal proposals and it will be a big task to have such rule changes approved. It would take 2/3 of Board of Governors votes in addition to agreement from the National Basketball Players Association. The higher-seeded team being awarded the first possession of the second, third and fourth quarters, following the traditional jump ball to begin the game. The higher-seeded team being allowed to designate one player to be able to be whistled for 7 fouls instead of 6 before fouling out. The higher-seeded team receiving an extra coach's challenge. The higher-seeded teams being able to transport their actual hardwood home court from their home arenas to Orlando to try to preserve the feel of their home playing experience. An off-court feature in which playoff teams, in order of seeding 1 to 16, receive first choice on picking which hotel they will stay at in the ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex and Disney World Resort. ESPN is owned by the Walt Disney Co. July 31 is target date for NBA return. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and the league office informed the Board of Governors that July 31 is a target date for return of the season. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and the league office informed Board of Governors that July 31 is a target date for return of season, sources tell at Athletic.at Stadium. This date gives the league roughly 2 months to finalize its Disney proposal and get players back to individual workouts. The NBA discussed 4 competition scenarios on the Board of Governors call. 16 teams, directly to playoffs. 20 teams, group, stage play. 22 teams, games to determine seeding, play in tournament for final seeds. 30 teams, 72-game regular season, with play in tourney. The third plan with 22 teams is a scenario where teams that are within 6 games of a playoff spot would be invited to compete in regular season games, according to ESPN's Ramona Shelburne. Among the 4 plans discussed on the Board of Governors call today was one in which teams that are within 6 games of a playoff spot would be invited to compete in regular season games, then a play-in tourney for the final playoff spots, sources told ESPN. That plan would include the following teams from the Western Conference: Portland Trail Blazers, New Orleans Pelicans, Sacramento Kings, San Antonio Spurs and Phoenix Suns. That plan would only include the Washington Wizards from the Eastern Conference. Most team owners expect Silver's plan to resume the season to be announced within the next week. As hard as owners and teams are pushing for proposals rooted in some level of self-interest, there's still a sense they'll give Silver the latitude to implement the plan that he lands on with the NBPA. Most expect that'll come inside the next week. L.A. Notes: West, Caruso, Davis, Rivers. May 30, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. CST by Arthur Hill. If the NBA decides to eliminate conferences for this year's playoffs, it could clear the way for a finals matchup between the Lakers and Clippers, which Hall of Famer Jerry West believes would be the ultimate competition, relays Melissa Rowland of Sports Illustrated. West, a Clippers consultant who spent decades with the Lakers as a player, coach and executive, discussed the possibility during an appearance on The Dan Patrick Show. "I think in Los Angeles, they have so many Laker fans. My goodness," West said. "The enormous success that the Lakers have had over the years, they are a really good team now, two of the best players we've seen in a long time on one team. I think it would be incredible for the people in the West. I'm not sure how that would go over for the teams back east who want to see their respective teams get an opportunity to play. West would like to see all teams play 9 or 10 more games before the playoffs begin." He also supports having two bubble sites, putting all the Western teams in Las Vegas and the Eastern teams in Orlando. There's more from LA. Lakers guard Alex Caruso believes the rivalry between the two franchises is more important to the fans than the players. He discussed the dynamics involved during an appearance on the Low Post podcast with ESPN's Zach Lowe, hat tip to silver screen and roll. "That's not to diminish how big of a rivalry the battle for LA is, just in a sense of history and how long it's been a Clippers versus Lakers thing," Caruso said. "But them being as good as they are this year doesn't add any more. I don't know, I feel bad saying it because it's obviously one of the biggest matchups and names in the game playing against each other, but I'm sort of robotic in the sense of this is another game. I know what they're gonna bring, and we gotta know what we're gonna bring to prepare for it." Although Anthony Davis's preference to play power forward is well known, the Lakers will probably need him at center in the most important moments of the playoffs, writes Pete Zayas of The Athletic. Clippers coach Doc Rivers has been "Doc on demand" as a motivational speaker during the hiatus, notes Andrew Grief of the Los Angeles Times. Rivers' appearances have included virtual meetings with 3 NFL teams, the Bears, Rams and Colts. LeBron James, Anthony Davis and JaVale McGee among Lakers to band together with social media message amidst protests in response to death of George Floyd. The recent death of George Floyd at the hands of the police in Minneapolis has sent shockwaves through the country, sparking protests and demonstrations in seemingly every state across the country. This has led to many celebrities in all walks of life not only speaking up but even going to the streets and some even leading protests. Los Angeles Lakers all-star LeBron James has always been outspoken on social issues and this has been no different. James has already been on Instagram in the immediate aftermath of the death, making his message clear. Though the vast majority of protests across the country have been peaceful, many others have devolved into rioting and looting, putting in danger many people and businesses. Despite this, James and his Lakers teammates have not lost sight of the initial point at hand and continue to push their message. He, Anthony Davis, Danny Green, Alex Caruso and many other Lakers players took to Instagram to push a simple but effective message to the public.